method, it is a litmus test of like, does that style of basketball play for 8 months?
It doesn't.
I don't know.
It doesn't.
I would bet against it, if I'm being honest with you. I would bet against it. And then, not that Kyrie and him can't work, but in terms of the long-term view, I don't think you can have two players who are ball dominant and poor defenders in your backcourt.
No,
I think one of the two has to be an athlete.
Yeah, and
that's where I look at the Curry, like who plays alongside Curry, very important, because I think whoever plays alongside Curry, as much as hitting shots, spacing the floor offensively, can you lock up somebody in the half court and be an athlete?
I think moving forward, too, instead of Luka just having the ball and bringing the ball up the floor so much, how do you cut down his usage rate? I would put him down on the block a lot more. His post-up game is very, very good. Get him on the mid-post, get him on the elbow, and let him go to work instead of just being at the top of the key or at the three-point line. Now, I know he's a solid three-point shooter. Not a great three-point shooter, but a solid three-point shooter who could get hot with the best of them. But I would put him down on the block. His footwork is really good. He's got the fadeaway. He's got the step back. Get on the block and get another guard in there who could play make for him and facilitate the offense a little bit better. I think that's moving forward for Dallas. But, you know, when you talk about Steph Curry and who to pair him alongside, and I'm thinking about Jonathan Kaminga. I'm thinking about Kaminga going into his fourth season. And look, I would say he had a very good third season. I think he showed that he could play in this league at a high level. Now, how high can that level get for Jonathan Kuminga? Can he become that defender like Jaylen Brown? Can he become a shooter like Jaylen Brown? I think that, when you look at Jaylen Brown, I think that's where Kuminga needs to watch. He's 6'7", 6'8", just like Jaylen Brown. He's strong and physical. And you look at the way Jaylen Brown plays, he's got the nice little 10-foot midi, the 10-foot little mid-range jumper. He can step out and hit the three. Kuminga, I wonder if he studied Jaylen Brown at all. I know he loves Kevin Durant. He loves Kobe Bryant. But if he could become any type of version of Jaylen Brown, maybe that's the type of guy you pair with Stephen Curry. I don't know.
No, it's interesting you referenced Jaylen Brown as a comp because I went and did a little deep dive on Jaylen Brown's career, thinking that I just thought he had more runway early on in his career, and I was actually wrong about that. Jaylen Brown, if you look at it, 20, 21, 22. Those were his first 3 years in the league. He averaged 6, 15, and 13 points a game. And then he jumps up in year 4, where he starts every game of that season, the 50s. This is the COVID year. He goes up to 20. And he's really never looked back since then. 20 points a game, 25 a game, 24 a game, 27 a game, 23 a game. And he's become a perennial all-star. And I think with that, perimeter defense and all those other things that we've talked about, he's added more dribbling. He's not the greatest dribbler, but more.
He got better. He got better.
He has gotten better. He's added that to his game. To me, his tenacity on defense is excellent, and his ability to not accept the switch. That was the thing to me that really stuck out. Like, no, I'm gonna fight through this screen, and I'm staying with Luka, and I am taking this on. To take that same leap, they need to carve out the minutes, and they have to allow the growth for Kaminga, because the scoring is already there. The athleticism is there. Now it's consistency and the tolerance level of the others around him and the head coach to let him kind of figure it out on the fly.
Well, I'm looking at his shot attempts. Jaylen Brown, his first 3 years, 5 shot attempts his rookie year, 11 shot attempts his second year, and 11 shot attempts his third year. Then it jumps up to 15, 19, 18, 20, 18. And I can recall back at Oracle Arena, the Celtics came in to beat the Warriors one night. They had Avery Bradley, they had Isaiah Thomas, and they had a young Jaylen Brown. He could have been a rookie that year. And remember, he got into it with Stephen Curry. He was defending him. Steph Curry hit a three in his face, and they started chirping. I remember the Celtics were talking about it after the game. It was like, well, if it was Avery Bradley, they wouldn't talk like that or whatnot. But the young Jaylen Brown was finding his way early on, and the Celtics early on with Brad Stevens, when he was a head coach there, would put Jaylen Brown on top offensive players, even as a young player. So he's been the trial by fire for Jaylen Brown as an elite defender has been going on for a long, long time. And to see the evolution of his game, because remember, he was picked number 3 a year before Jayson Tatum got picked third overall by the Boston Celtics. And Jaylen Brown was a project coming out of Cal. It was a project. You didn't know what he was. Is he a 2? Is he a 3? How's this game going to translate? Danny Ainge really took a shot at him. I remember it was very controversial, but they took him number 3 overall.
Athlete first.
Yep.
Not the skill player. I mean, very similar to Kaminga in terms of you're getting a raw athlete. Yep. And you're going to have to mold that guy into it. And I think one of the things that is hard to not unsee is Kuminga, like Jaylen Brown, they crash into people.
Yep.
They just do. And they have such a broad shoulder chest area. Jaylen Brown would get picked and sometimes run into someone, get a charge or whatever. He's really he's tapered that off in the last couple of years. That's like Kuminga's calling card is crashing into people.
Well, I think Kaminga, though, if he studies Jaylen Brown as a template, and maybe it's not Jaylen Brown, maybe it's other players. Well, I'm looking at Jaylen Brown last night and just saying, wow, because you talking about the $30 million with the extension with Jonathan Kaminga, and I think it will be a bargain because I do think if he has the runway and the ability, the green light to do what he does offensively, he's going to score 20 to 25 a game. We saw him score 20. Once he got run, once the calendar flipped to 2024, it was basically a 20-point-per-game score. But that's nothing. And getting to the free throw line. But how do you evolve? How do you involve others? How do you pass? How do you have the feel of the game? When do you go ISO? One thing that Don Nelson always did with Tim Hardaway Sr. was, hey, Timmy, I know you can get your shot at any point. And Kuminga's getting to that point where he could get his shot at any point of the game. He's not quite there yet, but he's getting closer, closer, and closer. But when Tim Hardaway Sr. had it, Don Nelson would tell Timmy Sr., hey, man, pass it around first. Ball will get back to you, and then you go. But first, let's work it around and see what's going on because I know you can get your shot. And that's where Kuminga has to get a better feel of the offense, especially to read and react. Know when to go ISO. Know when to go try to dunk on somebody's head. Feel the game out a little bit more, and he's getting closer and closer to doing that.
Here's where I think it's difficult. All that makes a lot of sense, and I agree with a lot of the stuff we're talking about here. But you can't go into next season and Kuminga to be the potential to be your number 2 player. That just
might have to be your number 3.
No, no, that's what you want. I mean, in terms of scoring in the half court, right? Most people would say that's not getting much done.
Got to see it, right? I mean, what is? Obviously, you have to see the rest of the roster.
Yes, but I'm saying if you're rolling out in terms of a number 2 scorer, which is one of their problems. I think he can be a number 2 scorer, but the beauty of a team like the Boston Celtics. Like Drew Holiday, anything you get offensively is like gravy, Porzingis can be on any given night your second leading scorer or your fourth leading scorer, right? Derek White can be your second leading scorer or your fourth leading scorer on a given night. So, they don't have enough punch outside of Steph to just say, Kuminga be our number 2. If they had another...
It's not that easy to just be the number 2, but I think we're so helped by having that bona fide co-star, blah, blah. Kaminga, why couldn't he do it offensively? Now I'm intrigued. Because at times last year offensively, he was your number 2 scorer. Hell, even Draymond Green said it. He's our second best player right now.
But and
they had their best stretch of basketball last year when he was doing that.
Okay, but again, you're rolling into just a hypothetical, and I don't want to play consequentialist here, but you're rolling into some sort of a playoff matchup against Minnesota or Denver. Just right now, it's hard for me to envision you knocking one of those teams off with JK as your number 2 in the half-court offense. That's all.
It depends. It also depends on what the rest of the roster looks like, right? Now, if he's playing with other, on this current roster, you need to make changes.
That's what I'm saying.
You need to make changes.
Can't roll out there Wiggins is going to be our 3 and we can trust him.
But no, I'm working under the assumption that the Warriors aren't going to make big moves.
That I agree with.
Or at least try to make big moves. And the big move may not be what we all think, a big move. We're going to go get a top 15 player. No. I do believe it will look different. How do you build a team around Steph? You still have Draymond Green. I don't think Draymond Green's going anywhere. And then you have the Klay decision. Again, as of now, folks, the Warriors can negotiate with Klay Thompson. They can negotiate with Klay Thompson right now on a new deal. That was that opened up at midnight last night. So right now, they could talk to Klay Thompson and work out a new contract. They could also negotiate with the player on the roster that is rookie extension eligible. Can also negotiate with Steph Curry if you want to give him a veteran extension as of July 6th. So a lot of things going on. What is not allowed is you can't negotiate with a free agent not on your roster. That can't happen until June 30th at 3 o'clock West Coast time. Announcing publicly that a team and free agent have reached agreement on a contract. The first allowable date is July 6th at midnight. A minute after midnight, I should say, East Coast time. And in violation of the rules, you could get fined up to $2 million, forfeit draft picks, or suspension of team personnel. So right now, the Warriors can't talk to Klay Thompson. Do you think... well,
there's another guy, too, that they're negotiating with right now. It sounds like they're negotiating with Chris Paul as to whether they're going to work out. So, like, basically, he has $30 million that they can guarantee by June 28th, which is 10 days from now. But they're trying to negotiate some sort of a provision in the clause to extend it out so they could explore trades and then figure that out. That way he gets his $30 million because Chris Paul wants that $30 million. I don't know how many teams are giving him $30 million. He wants that $30 million and he wants to be able to kind of control where he goes. So they're trying to figure that. So that's another element of what's going on right now. Because I'm looking at that Chris Paul $30 million, and if they choose to use it and they could find some sort of a trade partner, I mean, there are guys out there that you could work out some sort of a sign and trade, like Nick Claxton, DeMar DeRozan, KCP, Royce O'Neal. These are other potential free agents that are looking for certain money. That again, these aren't the sexiest names.
No. But sources, I'll say something about Nico Collins in Brooklyn. Sources tell me that Brooklyn is not going to let him out.
Nick Claxton?
Nick Claxton, I mean.
Okay.
Who did I say?
Nico Collins.
I said Nico Collins from Texas. Did you say Nico Collins? Nick Claxton.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good to know. All right.
Yeah.
Because he's looking for like $400 million. I'm like, that's a lot of money. The Suns situation is interesting. I don't think Chris Paul's going to the Suns, but Royce O'Neal is a solid role player. He is. He's just a solid role player. But they can't sign anyone for more than the minimum if they don't sign him because they're this goes back to we're not the only team in kind of luxury cap hell here. The Suns are as well. So the Suns are in a very weird spot. They're a team that could either keep everything together and keep Royce O'Neal, or they could be moving guys, Booker or Durant or something. Who knows? Maybe Bradley Beal. There's just so many options out there.
I think it's going to be chaotic in the NBA. I don't know if the Suns are going to trade Booker. That's the one guy you don't trade. If you're going to move off somebody, it's either Beal or Durant. I don't think they're going to take the old guys. Like,
you would think, right?
I don't think they'll trade Devin Booker. Wow, that would be asinine.
Like KCP has always been a guy that I thought.
I love him.
I would too, and he's looking for $20 to $25 million. He has a player option for $15 million that he's probably going to decline. Rumors are that he's searching for somewhere in the range of 4 for $97.
Yeah, he wants big money.
Now he's a guy like if you just watch the playoffs the last 4 or 5 years, he's a contributor. I mean, he's streaky in terms of offense.
But you pay for him for his defense.
Yeah.
You pay for him to guard the Stephs. You pay for him to guard the Lucas.
Like him.
You pay for him to guard the top offensive player.
I like KCP.
He's not for 4 for 97. I don't like him that much.
I'm with you there, but
I love him that much. But I like him. I don't like him for that much.
Looking at again, this is where we're kind of where the Warriors are. You're either going to overpay for somebody in some weird trade scenario, or you're getting a player with some flaws.
No
doubt. It's not going to be these perfect players.
No, it's not. It's not. So my question is,
I'm gonna check him off.
Well, no, I just sources told me in Brooklyn that they're really high on him. Yeah. They're really high on him.
Okay. What about DeRozan? I think replacing Klay, whoever replace if that ends up happening, that person is going to be through the microscope.
Well, it's interesting with Klay. This is what I went through my head as soon as the window opened last night. One is Klay's phone on Do Not Disturb. Is it on silent? Is it loud? Is the ringer on?
Who's his agent?
It's the Wasserman Group. Somebody from the Wasserman Group, which is Bob Meyer's former agency.
Gotcha.
So the Wasserman Group. So where's Klay going to be at? We were talking about Klay's defense, and everybody talks about his defense, and the way he has to play defense is he needs the sideline, he needs the baseline, he needs the out of bounds, he needs to use angles, and he needs rim protection so he can funnel his player into a shot blocker or a guy who could really contest the rim. That's where Klay is at right now. That's where he's at with his defense. Think about some of the two guards like Dan Marley, our very own Chris Mullin, who weren't locked down defenders, but they use their angles, they use the sideline, they use the baseline to help their defense and also funnel those players in the rim protectors and